Hey guys, Pete here. This will be my recap breakdown for Watchmen Episode 5. The episode was titled Little Fear of Lightning, which is an excerpt from a line from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. The full quote being, "If there were no thunder, men would have little fear of lightning. Although the danger is in the lightning, not in the thunder." The episode was written by Damon Lindelof and Carly Ray and directed by Steph Green. We take a look into who Looking Glass is, and this was the first Watchmen episode that really recreated the magic of how the Leftovers used character-based episodes to tell the story. We get a ton of answers about what's going on, but it's all wrapped up inside Wade Tilman's story that is compelling enough to stand on its own. Watchmen Episode 5 takes us back to 1985, where a young Wade has traveled with a group of Jehovah's Witnesses from Tulsa to Hoboken, New Jersey, because the doomsday clock has been set to 1 minute before midnight. Tick-tock, Wade. As he navigates the carnival, as viewers were treated to a buffet of Easter eggs, Veidt's method on the back of a magazine. There's a show poster for Pale Horse, who's playing at Madison Square Garden, and we also meet a group of Knot Tops. We learn about these guys in the original story. In fact, a group of them actually killed the original Night Owl, who was Hollis Mason. So when he approaches them, it's not surprising that they give him some shit. It is a little surprising when the one girl who's with them, though, actually rescues him and pulls him into the funhouse to hear more about the end of the world. In that conversation, LG says he isn't afraid of anything when she presses him, and it's all due to his faith. But that faith is immediately tested. The girl takes his clothes, leaving him naked and humiliated, and before he can even really process all of that, the squid attack happens. We see the mirrors fall down around him, and it brings the terror of how this attack would play into focus. I can't speak for someone who has this background, but presumably he isn't afraid of the end of the world because his faith tells him that something better is coming as a result. As he walks out and screams, "What happened?" As he sees all the dead bodies, we get a glimpse into what a post-11/2 world has to deal with. Adrian Veidt's plan was to avert the impending nuclear war by giving both sides of the conflict a bigger problem to worry about. That part worked, but his plan never really included a remedy for all the fear that was left behind with the survivors of this attack. Fear of nuclear annihilation played a huge role in Watchmen. Fear of what happened on 11/2 plays a huge role in Looking Glass's life, and he wouldn't be the only one. We find out there are support groups, that Steven Spielberg made a movie called Pale Horse about the attack in this universe rather than Schindler's List, and there's at least one company that profits off selling equipment designed to protect from extra-dimensional attacks. To transition back to 2019, we get this great long shot, it's sort of like a flyover, where we leave him at the carnival and travel to Ground Zero to see the aftermath as the squid sits in the middle of the city. It's an absurd idea and a gruesome image. They really pulled this off, and at Wade's cover job as a focus group consultant, we see that even 30 years later, they're still trying to get people to come back to New York for tourism. This is a Wade episode, and we follow him to the police station where we see that he takes his job seriously. We see him visit his ex-wife, who is a geneticist, where we get some insight into how their relationship fell apart, and watch in horror as she incinerates a clone puppy that is slightly smaller than the original. We watch him butt heads with Lori, who takes every chance to rib him about wearing masks, and bugs the cactus on his desk because she's FBI and they bug shit. And we see him prepping, doing anything he can to regain control and protect himself from the next extra-dimensional event. It consumes him, and we see that. We learn that he's a big-time customer of extra-dimensional security products, which include his early warning system and reflectatine, which is a substance that's supposed to protect his gray matter against psychic blasts like the one from the squid in New York. Reflectatine was a real kicker. We found out that his mask is made of it, and that's why he wears it even inside his own home. Lori nails it when she throws out the idea that he became a cop after the White Knight because that gave him an excuse to wrap his whole head in reflectatine most of the time, rather than just hiding it under his baseball hats. He wears tinfoil hats, like for real, all the time. Sitting in the support meeting, Wade spells out to the group how he deals with his PTSD. The idea that the squid saved humanity, which would have been destroyed by nuclear war if the event hadn't happened. This may be helpful to them, but we know it's BS, and so does Renee, who we later learn is a member of the 7th Kavalry, sent to infiltrate the group and lead LG to Senator Keene. They have a drink, talk about their trauma, and why isn't everyone terrified? They kiss, and then, well, lettuce. At the 7K's secret hideout, Wade learns that the church from the video was actually a set built in an abandoned department store, so Laurie's plan to find it probably won't turn anything up. He sees that they are experimenting with teleportation devices that were supposed to be involved with the squid attack on 11/2, and learns that Senator Keene is the leader of the cavalry. From what Keene says, he's doing this for the right reasons, and so was Chief Crawford, who also got involved with the group after the White Night to help keep things under control. This means that Angela is a real problem for Keene because she threatens to disrupt things by digging into Crawford's backstory. The senator offers LG a squid pro quo, help him get Angela off the board for a couple of days so that they can continue with their plan, and he'll show LG the truth so that he'll never be afraid of extra-dimensional attacks again. That gives us a scene with Wade Tilman watching a wall of screens, just like the star of the video, Ozymandias, aka Adrian Veidt, did at the end of the comic book. The video itself is a little strange. It doesn't really present anything new to people who read the comics. Veidt's plan that he lays out here is the plot of that book. But this is a huge revelation for Wade, and that's what's important for this Watchmen story. Tim Blake Nelson masterfully shows us how this affects his character without saying any words. There's relief, understanding, and there's a sense of contentment and bliss that could be just under the surface waiting to come out. If only for a moment his mind can rest rather than preparing for that next attack, and this is some great television in my book. Think about the horror on the young Wade's face as the camera pulls away from him, screaming at the carnival on 11/2. Then think about this scene and the 34 years that have passed in a life in between. Think of him wearing his tinfoil hats as an attempt to control that feeling that it could all happen again at any time. Then think about the hole that's going to be left behind in him when that fear is removed, and we can see the tragedy that is this character Wade Tilman. On top of it all, Mr. Glass is put in a no-win situation. Keene explicitly promised to set the cavalry to the task of killing Angela and her family if Wade wouldn't help him get her off the board. Back at the station, he follows through and gets Sister Night to reveal what she's been up to in relation to Crawford's murder. She tells him that she found her grandfather will at the crime scene and covered that up, which he knows Laurie's going to hear because of the bug cactus. It's enough to take Angela into custody, but not before she downs the bottle of her granddad's nostalgia pills, which sets up the next episode. Things aren't over in Looking Glass's story, though. He returns home and struggles with the hole that's left inside him where his fear used to live. He decides not to put on the tinfoil hat and promptly throws his new extra-dimensional security system in the trash before turning around and grabbing it again before entering the house. After that, some well-armed 7K guys show up in his driveway, and they look like they're on a mission. We don't find out what happens because the episode ends, but it doesn't feel like Keene is keeping up his end of the squid pro quo. For what it's worth, I don't think they're going to kill Wade. There's a chance, mainly because I don't think they're going to open the next episode and we're going to find out that he died. I think it would have worked better if they were going to kill him at the end of this episode. It's just my opinion, but we'll see how it plays out. In outer space, we catch up with Adrian Veidt, who actually launches himself outside of the barrier of his prison. Wearing his improved suit, he manages to touch down on the surface outside, where all the Phillipses and Crookshanks clones have landed. Damon Lindelof confirmed to Collider that he's on Jupiter's moon Europa, and we watch as he uses the corpses to spell out "Save me, D," that's all we can read anyways, in a way that the satellite that's looking on will see them. As he celebrates just like he did at the end of the comic, he's yanked back into the prison by the game warden, who definitely looks like a Phillips with a mustache and a mask on under closer inspection. Ozzy yells at everyone in frustration, saying, "Your gods abandon you," which invokes Dr. Manhattan, clearly, and weirdly the game warden agrees that it's likely their god won't return. That doesn't stop him from doing his job though, and he arrests Veidt, promising to show him no mercy. For the 5th week in a row, we get some answers to what's going on with Ozymandias, but we still really don't know what to make of what's going on here. Like I said, it clearly invokes Dr. Manhattan with the talk of a god, the fact that they're on Europa. Who else could get there? How would they do that? But we still can't say for sure what's going on here. And it won't stop us from trying to figure it out. That's what we're supposed to do. And that's where things are left as this episode comes to a close. In the Peteypedia, we learned more about the nostalgia pills that have been the source of many theories over the last couple of weeks since they were introduced by Will. This was a marketed pharmaceutical product. It was supposed to help with anxiety and depression. What they do is they take some of your good memories, they encode it in these pills, and you experience that feeling when you take it. Just like any real world pharmaceutical, there's a lot of warnings on the packaging. And we got the news from Wade's ex that they were taken off the market because they cause psychosis. We end Watchmen episode 5 with Sister Night taking a whole bottle of nostalgia. Not her own, but her grandfather's, which is a big no-no according to the packaging. Don't take anybody else's nostalgia. And there's also the idea that, True's using this maybe for other purposes. Maybe she's advanced the technology. We don't know what's going to happen to Angela for sure, but we can guess that it's going to make for a really interesting episode 6. Some of the other things that popped up in the episode, the Friends of Nemo thing was kind of funny. Nemo is the captain of the submarine in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which we mentioned at the beginning. I think the way that they moved on from the squid into this story is really good. I think this is probably one of the best episodes, maybe if not the best episode of the season so far. All the world building they did in the first couple episodes is really starting to pay off. These little details of how the world is and how things function feel right at this point. As mentioned, the tape of Ozymandias is a little bit weird. A lot of people are bringing up the idea, why would he even make this? He made it in the past, apparently to show Robert Redford after he gets elected. And it's a smoking gun, which isn't really even necessary. If you wanted the exposition of what happened in the original story, you could just look it up on the internet. Like, they didn't necessarily have to tell us in this way. And it doesn't feel very Adrian Veidt for him to lay out all of his crimes in a format where they could come back and haunt him. I don't really know what to say about it. I guess if you hadn't read the comic and you couldn't take the time to figure out what the original story was about, that this might be useful. But I think it might be a little bit suspect. I'm not jumping on any conspiracy bandwagon here, but the idea is in the back of my mind. Speaking of theories and bandwagons, I really loved how Panda was convinced that Hooded Justice was Dr. Manhattan. He's watched all the episodes. It was really funny to see them talking about that at work, him with Red Scare, discussing the theories about the show, kind of referenced all of us and what we're doing right now. The Hooded Justice and Captain Metropolis sex scene may have been a little bit out of place if you didn't know the backstory of those two characters. They were rumored to have a relationship, and the show references this again in the Peteypedia file this week as well. Of course, Agent P doesn't like the series. He sort of takes the role of an angry gatekeeper about how they approach making this stuff into a TV show. And we'll have to see how they handle the reveal of Hooded Justice. The TV show seems to be on a path to explain something about him. Theories are certainly pointing to it being Will. The truth may not be completely clear at the end, but either way, we're going to learn something important about that in the next episode, I'm sure. Keene's plot is interesting. I haven't seen a lot of conversation about this, but he does have something planned. It is going to happen soon. It involves that teleportation technology that we saw them messing around with. And I, for one, am really curious to see how that will play out. And I'm looking forward to getting more Will and trying to figure out what Lady True's doing in relation to that in the next episode. So I will end it here. Make sure you let me know in the comments what you think. Was this your favorite episode? What did you think about Looking Glass's origin story? How they tied in the original story to the one we're watching now? What do you hope to see in the future? My next Watchmen video will be the trailer breakdown for episode 6. That'll come out in a couple of days, so make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already. Please like this video if you enjoyed it. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram for regular updates during the week. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll talk to you soon.